it's Amanda again with UnHinged magazine, and we're here today with Libby Rodenbough. And the name might not necessarily ring a bell off the top of your head, but that's because this is her debut album separate from her full-time venture of being a part of the well-known group MIPSO that's been at the top of the U.S. bluegrass charts more than once.
10 years, you'll call me on your telephone.
But with that being said, Libby's bringing a whole new sound with her first full-length solo album in the upcoming release of Spectacle of Love on May 29th. And, you know, one of my favorite perks of owning a music publication is listening to albums before they ever release. And I am definitely impressed with this one. And now, Libby, without giving out my official album review just yet, because they asked me to give you one, and I will, I do notice that every song is very obviously you. But you transition from different moods and vibes seamlessly. First song, How Come You Call Me? It started out, this might sound weird, but it started out almost reminiscent of Carole King hits. And then you kind of segue right into some Nora Jones like type vibes. And next thing you know, I feel like I should pull out the lava lamp with some of those trippy and trancy tunes. So what genre would you consider yourself with this new adventure?
Well, I've been avoiding the whole conversation of genre as much as I can because, I think the album sounds like a kind of a grab bag because it was made over such a long period of time. It's like a collection of songs that I've been keeping on the side while I was touring with MIPSO for probably 6 or 7 years. And so, you know, the way that you write songs, just like the way you feel, kind of changes with the seasons, I think. At least it does for me. And so I have these songs that are, you know, monuments to maybe a time when I was really into Carole King or a time when I was really into Nora Jones or what have you. And I wanted to make an album where I put all of these together and didn't worry about whether they sounded the same or whether they were going to, one track was going to transition well to the next. Just, I mean, kind of as an experiment to see if, you know, the fact of me being the author of the songs would be enough to, you know, tie that thread through.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, because I remember listening to it, it almost seemed like the perfect road trip soundtrack because it changes and the moods and the elevations and the tempos, everything changes. And it's like, it's a great like road trip soundtrack in a way. So who are some of your musical inspirations? We talked about a couple of them, but like, who are your favorites for certain reasons?
Yeah, I mean, I have so many. I think usually I think about songwriters when I think about my favorite musicians. And I really love a lot of people that most songwriters love, like Joni Mitchell. Bob Dylan was really big for me. I also love Bill Callahan, and he has a kind of like really, really dry wit to the way that he writes, and a kind of like a darkness in a lot of his subject matter, but also he to me, he reflects the reality of life, which is that like even in dark times, there are funny things and awkward things, and you know, life is not always intensely poetic. You know, there's like, you know, you can have a family member die and then you can still like fart and it's funny to people in that moment, you know. And I think Bill Callahan does that, like captures that kind of complexity of feeling well, and so does this guy Dan Reeder. I really like him a lot. I love on the more like folk side, I love Gillian Welch so much. And Anais Mitchell is another like folky songwriter that I love. And I could probably just go in and keep going, but those are a few that come to my mind whenever I'm thinking about songwriting.
You play the hell out of some strings. What all instruments can you play?
My main instrument is the violin, but then I can get by on viola because that's real similar, and cello. And I grew up playing piano, so I play some of the piano on the album. And then I play a lot of just rhythm guitar, acoustic and electric guitar. And I can't remember if there's any banjo on there, but I play a little bit of banjo, clawhammer banjo too.
Colors is the first music video you've released from the album, and it just came out on the 15th. And like, totally go check it out, you guys. I mean, it had me rolling. It was so epically just awkward in a good, funny, just wholesome way.
And now you got it bad for a picture that you made in your head.
So tell us about what the lyrics mean to you in Colors.
Yeah, Colors is a funny song, a lighthearted song about feeling like a fraud. So it's like, it's a lighthearted song, but it comes from sort of dark feelings about romantic interest, thinking that you're more interesting than you really are. And not only romantic interest, but just people that you come into contact with. I think probably everybody's had this feeling, but the feeling that like people who are attracted to you are seeing something that isn't really there, and that if they get to know you, they're gonna be disappointed.
You get so used to making sure that the first impressions are the best impression, but then it's like, well, what about the real you? Yes, that's what I gathered from it. I just want to make sure I wasn't going crazy there. So.
Yeah, you're right on the money.
So has the COVID-19 crap, has that hurt your progress with the album release and the timeline?
It actually has made my whole decision making a lot easier, I think, because it frees you from having to be too strategic, because you can't do any touring. And so it sort of doesn't matter when you put out an album or how, because everybody's going to be just listening to it at home. So, and it also made it easier that I wasn't on the road this whole spring with MIPSO, which we had dates for the whole spring and summer that are all now canceled, which is tough. And that's hard, especially for that business to run. But it means that I'm home, and like I made that music video at home on my iPhone, and I wouldn't have been home to do it,
Well, locked in for so long, did you find any shows to binge watch?
Yeah, man, I've been watching so much TV, but I don't even feel bad about it, because I just am really, there's so much good TV. It's kind of overwhelming. I just finished up this series called Normal People, which is, it's Irish. It's like it's like a love story of two Irish like teenagers. And it appeals to my like teenage moody side. Like it's very dramatic, but it's also, the acting's really good and the writing's really good, and like it's beautifully done. So you don't feel like you're just watching like trash TV, but it's extremely romantic and emotional. And for me, I don't know about everybody else, but it really accurately reflected the intensity of my feelings at that time of my life. And it made me feel really nostalgic watching it. We just started this other one called The Great, which is it's like a fake version of history about Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia. But it's really crude and profane, and it's like it shows the whole court of Russia to be, like everybody's having sex with each other and everybody's like getting drunk constantly, and
the real life underground version of it. Yeah.
So it's funny. It's a funny one. It's pretty good. I feel like I've watched like 10 other shows from start to finish since March, but I can't even remember what they are at this point.
And if you've been around for a while with the success of MIPSO, has anything weird or embarrassing ever happened while performing?
Let's think. I mean, we've had not anything that I think would be very extreme in any musician's stories of being on stage. Like we've had plenty of drunk people get on stage, or we had a drunk guy playing harmonica extremely loudly, like right in front of the stage one time, to the point where like we could barely hear our instruments over it. One of my bandmates had a cousin who got really, really drunk and got up on stage and had a security guard chasing her, like weaving around us. And he felt like especially awful because it was his own cousin and the audience didn't know that. I can't think of anything. I'm sure there are some stories. I need to have these ready in the future.
So the one question that I ask everybody is, do you have a strange or useless talent?
I have, let me see how I can show this. I have a shoulder that pops out. I don't know if you can see that, but it's sort of like.
Oh, no. That's the weird stuff I love to throw in there. That's perfect. All right, so I know you've got another engagement soon, so tell us what the future holds for you. You still doing things with MIPSO? Do you have any more music videos going on with just you? Concerts coming up? What's going on with you? Just this shout out.
So far, the future is very up in the air. I'll put this album out on Friday, and I'm making some bolo ties to sell as merch. And that's about the only plan I have for the next 6 months. And MIPSO is trying to figure out some ways to make money while we're not touring. So we started a Patreon. And so we're going to be doing we're just going to be making covers videos and putting out old recordings and trying to make stuff that people want to pay extra money to see each month. So that it's our first time doing a Patreon, and we all kind of groaned at the thought of having to do that. But now, since we have so much time and we've been trying to get creative with what we put on there, it's kind of become a fun thing as we've brainstormed about it more and more. So I'm gonna be doing stuff like that. And then MIPSO is putting out an album in the fall. So that'll be in, I think, October.
Thank you so much for, the time of your day. I know despite the COVID, you're still busy. So.
Well, you're a lot busier than I am. So thank you.
Well, thanks again. It was really a pleasure. And hopefully we'll see you in concert soon, whether it's MIPSO or solo project. So.
Yep. One of these days, whether it's in a few months or a couple of years, it's going to happen again.
I don't have all the colors that you see in me. It's just a trick of light